Thank you. We're live.
All right. Welcome to the 1 p.m. Budget and Special Projects Committee meeting. Today is Wednesday, July 29th. Item number 1, I call this meeting to order. Item number 2, discussion with the Public Safety Commissioner or her designee regarding an update on the downtown curfew ordinance. This is Councilor Dutton's item.
Throw your back out.
It hurts it.
I did not move the arms fast enough.
These chairs have seen better days.
Okay. Good afternoon, Commissioner Laurel Roberts, Public Safety Commissioner in the Mayor's Office. I have with me Deputy Chief Wilmerhauser and Captain Shelley Seibert to help speak about these. We did supply some statistics that are behind you, Councilor Gilbert. I think the last time we were here was February, maybe March, because I know that we reported out on that 16 curfew citations in February. We can address those again as well. But these are our most current numbers through July 20th on a monthly basis for the number of downtown curfew violations, citations that have been written. So actually the summer months, so the June and the July where we saw an uptick last year are actually lower than we saw during the school year. So I think that that's a positive success and step in the right direction. And then yeah, if we want to keep a couple there. So this one is obviously just a demonstration between a citation versus physical arrest, and we can talk about the February being an anomaly as well. That was a party that kind of spilled out into downtown, but like I said, we can address it. And is there, would you like me to take yours?
Oh, you can.
A map breakdown of inside the IDL where we're seeing the most activity, the citations are written. I don't think any of this is probably a surprise to anyone. These are our primary late night hotspots: entertainments, bars, event centers, places where we have seen the gathering, parking lots where we've had some problems in the past, but the hotspot map and then the addresses as well. And then we have a demographic breakdown of age of arrestee being 11, the youngest, and then citations written as well, anywhere from 12 to 17 years old with the breakdown of male, female, and then a racial breakdown, so.
Can I ask a question about?
Sure. I've got Counselor Dutton first and then
Okay.
you.
So I will, if there's anything that Deputy Chief Wilmerhauser or Captain Seibert want to add before we go into questions?
Sure.
Is there?
Yeah, I think if you're looking at the point of, is this a success or not? Again, I think taking out the anomaly, and I think when Counselor Archie, when we spoke, the goal was never mass amounts of enforcement. And so I think it being very low numbers, and I think it's averaging like 3 a month or so-ish, when you take out that party, and the successes, the anecdotal information we're receiving from bar owners, from our officers, it is good. We are able to keep large crowds of kids from gathering in areas where there's literally nothing for them to do except potentially become a victim of crime or be a potential violator of that. So in all, it's been a huge success for us to keep downtown safe. And also, I really appreciate the fact that it was done last year, because I don't know if you guys have kind of monitored the events around the nation, and a lot of other cities this spring and summer have had to quick enact similar ordinances to prevent some, because they had huge teen takeovers, they're now having to go back and do some of that stuff as well. So anyways, just want to say thanks.
Okay. Absolutely. Thank you for that. Counselor Dutton?
Yeah, can we scroll back to, yes, the addresses offered? So I'm looking, some of these are out west. That one that had the most amount that one time, was that from a B&B that had been spilled out into?
That was that family party that people, I think, it grew larger than they
Yeah.
were expecting, and then it poured out into some fights and everything. And that's captured, most of those
Okay.
are all captured in the 600 East Archer, the
Right.
1 North Greenwood, and I think the 100 North Elgin. I think that takes out pretty much all of those.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all generally where this is, right here.
Yep.
Okay, and then if we could scroll back to the breakdown, I'm sorry,
Down.
down.
The demographics?
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
On the demographics here, I am concerned about the breakdown in the demographics. I think that probably white population also is just as representative as these that have already been cited, though maybe not actually being captured.
So again, the 16, my understanding, Deputy Chief Wilmerhauser, those were all African-American males
Right.
that were written tickets, or mostly males, but all
Right.
African-American. So the off balance of the 16 written because of one party does somewhat skew this. So if you take out the 16 from here, it's 11 and 6, which
Yeah.
is a little less disparate.
Right. It's almost 50%, really. But I'm concerned about that aspect.
Correct, and outside of the 16, when we remove it, we have not done a deep dive into
Right.
that. These statistics obviously are through the 20th of July.
It would still be
And
dispersed.
so
Yeah.
taking a deeper dive into that is something that we can do, looking at each individual one and kind of how those panned out. So
Yeah, I
I'd be
would
happy
be-
to do that and then report back to you on it.
Yeah, I would be interested in that as well. I'm also concerned about the amount of violence that occurs with the entertainment crowd itself, those that are utilizing the bars, and the fights are coming out into the streets. I would like statistics and numbers for that as well, because it seems to me that a lot of these businesses are using TPD as personal security by, number one, over-serving alcohol, and people are leaving the establishments intoxicated. I actually had a friend that was walking home from a club one evening, and he was attacked and had multiple staples on the back of his head because he got sucker punched and didn't know who. So I think there's a lot more violence occurring in the realm of those people that are actually utilizing the entertainment district. And we have more than just downtown
But
entertainment.
that doesn't have to do with the curfew.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's an actual trend, it's just we have ambulance chasers online, but, sorry.
Oh, okay.
I-
I'm sorry, I'm
yeah.
deviating, and
No,
I apologize.
I'll answer your question really quickly, and
Okay.
then we'll,
Thank
so
you.
I can say that TPD is not being used as a private security, or on-duty TPD is not being used as a private security. We do have a regularly staffed patrol that's downtown. Again, like last year, under Deputy Chief Wilmerhauser, we have been, it's not every weekend, it's strategic, but we have been deploying a task force type approach downtown by increasing the patrol. But just about every bar has their own bouncers, own security guards, have folks at the door checking for IDs, of course, to make sure you're 21 to get in. Some of them are even doing weapons checks,
Oh,
or we're
okay.
doing weapons checks at some point. But I am happy if we want to address violence downtown to get that data and come back.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to deviate
That we'll
from the
we'll have to do
subject
that on
matter.
another item.
Yeah, which is fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I would just offer one additional thing. I got on in 2005, and I remember every Saturday night, when I was assigned to RID, it was, okay, everyone, it's about 1:30, drive over to Brookside, and we
Yes.
would watch the fights and the other things, not watch.
Right.
We would see that happen, we would then address it, right? Yes, exactly.
Witness.
Address it, and so I would say,
something.
while punching and assaults, and I'm sorry that happened to your friend, when you have alcohol involved,
Yep,
people are gonna get into
yeah,
fights.
no, I
So,
agree, I agree.
Can
Yeah.
I
And then-
relate, can
and
I
then- yeah.
relate this back to the
Oh, sorry.
curfew, though? How the curfew ordinance helps with this is it frees up officers for violent crime suppression. So not having to deal with, and you have seen the videos, there's hundreds, if not 1,000 people down there on the weekend, on Saturday night. Not having another group of children down there that could be innocent bystanders if there is a targeted active shooter or these fights or anything like that. That's how the ordinance helps us. It frees us up so we can focus on gun interdiction, violent crime suppression, these fights. In reference to the bars, we have met with them. We met with them in the spring. We work really well with them. They do have their own security, their bouncers, they're well-trained. They have their own internal policies about how to handle things. Will things slip by them occasionally? Yes. But building an entertainment district, we have the same problems that come with an entertainment district, which is maybe being overserved, but a lot of times we find people go to the parking lots and drink, so that's one of the things that we patrol. So the bartender may not realize, I think they serve someone a couple drinks and they've already chugged something in their cars in the parking lot. So we have that, we have DUIs, we have the fighting. Those are common occurrences when you get people who are intoxicated, that large amount of people doing that. So we try to mitigate that and have a rapid response. But the curfew violation helps with that, just by limiting the amount of people and certainly children down there.
Yeah, okay. I don't have any further questions, thank you.
Okay. Counselor Dichter, right?
Thank you. Thank you for bringing this back. I will just amplify my concerns about the disparate impacts, even when you take out the one kind of outlier. I did want to see if we could also get a curfew update for everything that's going on outside the IDL. I know that this is really targeted to IDL, but I'm just curious to know, especially with out-of-school time, are we seeing youth that are in violation of curfew outside the IDL, and maybe what those demographics are as well, just so we can kind of get a look. I also wanted to ask, and maybe it's, you all aren't the right people to ask, but I'll just throw it out here. So now we've had this in motion for almost a year, just like, what, 9 months? Ish, or no,
a
last
year.
July, yeah, a year.
Little
It
over,
happened
yeah.
when my son was born, so I just
Yeah,
think about
yeah,
it has the same
July.
birthday.
Yeah, so what organizations do we have getting involved for diversion so that these kids aren't hanging out in spaces and places they don't need to be and offering alternatives? I didn't know, what, is youth services involved at all, or
I
My
know
Brother's
they were at the
Keeper, or
outside.
some of these other organizations? I grew up in a international metropolitan city with lots of entertainment and adult activities and lots of places and spaces teenagers shouldn't be, but there were also organizations that would organize things like midnight basketball or, teen dance that's, sanctioned and, monitored, or, like karaoke nights and things like that, so that these are really young kids, a lot of them, like 11, 12, 13, that's young, super young to be out, mixing, to your point, with people who are of age and partying. And thank you for mentioning that part of why we put this in place is so that they could clear those folks out by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever, with mornings and things, before the rest of these folks are spilling out on the streets. Because once you get, kids in the mix, to your point, counselor, you could just be an innocent bystander that gets caught up in a thing very quickly. So that was the main point, and I think that we're seeing that that is being accomplished. But what, I guess now that we're a year into it, like, what's the next step to give these kids an alternative place to be so that they don't have to, do this as regularly? And, teens want to socialize, they want to be together, and there's not very many places, as a mom of a 14 and a 16-year-old, there are not many places in this city where kids can go and be safe, and it doesn't cost money, right? We even know that for young ones, right? Trying to go to the park pool is $3 an entry. And then you take these 11, I have a concern that we're seeing 11 and 12 and 13 in a mix of older kids. But just in general, that's my question. I don't know if youth services comes out with you all in this capacity, or once they're transferred to the juvenile justice system, like how these young people get on a different path.
So I know, and I'll let Captain Seibert cover a few things, but I know we've worked with YSD, I know we've worked with MBK. I've had conversations with I think he's current president of 100 Black Men of Tulsa, trying to get as many opportunities, as many folks plugged in, so that, one, there's other things going on other places, but two, also getting them down into the entertainment district late. It's not always been successful, but more often than not, they want to answer the call to show up and try to divert some away. The other thing too, I want to offer, at least in again, I want to say the 11 and 12-year-olds were again part of the party.
Okay.
But at least in one of these cases, we are talking about guns involved. So while the curfew is the predicate offense, it prevented potential violent crime because we were able to get that gun away from that group. So to me, I think are you gonna have some kids down there who just end up curfew violating, and again, we can look more into that, and because they're looking for something to do. But I think we also have to take into account, these are some folks who are intentionally bringing a gun into downtown to do something else, and that to me is a way different story.
Well, and to your point, there's young kids right now with guns outside of the idea
Correct,
doing
yes.
really terrible
And-
things, so that, and it's not, I don't think, for police to solve this problem. They're bringing to us, like, this is what we're seeing. I think we're going to have to activate some sort of wraparound, uplift. And I know that there's that new initiative, right, in North Tulsa specifically, to interrupt violence and things.
Yeah, the community violence
Yeah,
interrupters.
so I know there's like things going on, and
There's
I,
one other thing.
I think it would also be helpful just, there's been young kids
Right
in my
after.
district with guns.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty far away from downtown and far away from North Tulsa, so, that's kind of, now that we have a year's worth of data that's very concentrated here, I do think I would like to see maybe everything outside the IDL for the last year as it pertains to youth, if you guys can just pull that report that we can kind of layer on. But then my next question as the policymakers and those that are being asked to invest in initiatives, like what is the next step to layer onto some of these things? And the takeover thing, you know, a lot of those are centered on malls and shopping districts, so.
And gathering.
Right, right, and parks and things, but I mean, just across the country, it's very mall-centric, so I'm certainly always paying attention and flagging things as it comes to my attention, but I would like for us to get out of reaction mode and into proactive mode. And we know that young people wanna be together, they don't have a lot of money and, you know, so what can we do? And how can we activate to keep them safe? Teach them conflict resolution that doesn't involve firearms, you know, and also hold adults accountable that are allowing young people to access these firearms. That's it, you know, it all layers in. So, thank you for bringing us the report. I know last year when you brought it to us, we had pretty robust discussion on how far and wide we needed to cast the net. In your assessment, is the concentrated like weekend timeframe working, or do we need to consider opening that up?
I think we limited it now to Friday and Saturdays, but
Yeah.
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday would be good. We have done some things well. I think something we could do is review special event permits. That's something that could be in the play. One example of how it was done really well this year is with Legacy Fest. There was a lot of planning about youth, like they had an area just for youth, and then they had peacekeepers out there. So if they left the event, they weren't just wandering downtown. If they encountered us and we stopped them, they were juvenile, a person would come out and they would say, I can walk them to their car, I can get them home. And it was nice to be able to
Yep.
hand that off, and then we're freed up to do, like I said, violent crime suppression. So that worked really well. I mean, I'd like to see more of that happen.
So
for
on
those
the event
events.
permitting side, are you suggesting that we add a question about like, are there gonna be youth participants and what's your plan for them?
Something like that. We have several things since the summer, and I think you can see last summer compared to this summer, when it comes to any kind of gun violence downtown, it hasn't happened. It's not just by chance. There
Yeah,
was a
sure.
lot of planning that went involved, pre-planning to get that done. So I think we have a lot of recommendations that we could give up through the commissioner
Okay.
when it comes to reviewing permits, and some suggestions we have.
So do we need to add Thursday, you think, on this ordinance? We started with the Thursday to Sunday. if
We
I'm-
did, we changed,
And then we got rid of the-
changed it
Yeah.
right before
At
the
the
summer.
renewal.
Yeah.
In October,
Yeah,
so,
it just seems like it was yesterday though.
I know.
Well, let us know if you all look
Yeah.
and analyze stuff and there's a reason to.
But to what you were saying, to your point, Counselor Decker Wright, I think we also have an Office of Family, Youth, and Children that can help us with this as well.
Yeah, I mean,
So
that's.
to help us, guide us through with different, or helping us with recommendations
Yeah, for
of
diversion
some
or
different
alternatives.
activities.
Yes, Counselor Dr. Wright, I know you're talking about proactive approaches.
Yeah.
These citations are not preset fines,
Yeah.
and so they do require.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me clarify. I'm not talking about proactive policing. I'm
No, no,
talking about us
proactive
being
No, I
approaches.
get what you meant, yeah.
You're talking about proactive approaches to diversion, and so that these
Yes.
kids aren't out here offending at the hours that they're offending.
Yes.
And I'm saying on the back half, the reactiveness I don't have what these kids are getting in terms of a
Yeah.
sentence, for lack of better terms,
Do they
right?
go to
Like,
court? Are
their
these supposed to court?
consequences.
Like, do their families have to go to
If there's
the
a
court?
citation written, yes.
Yes, they're not a
They
preset
are.
fine, so they do have to appear.
So there is some sort
They're,
of
Right.
right.
continued,
Yes, they're private hearings
Yeah.
because they are juveniles.
Yes.
Of course.
And so, yeah, they go to court.
municipal, unless there's a
municipal.
gun.
It's confidential.
Right, and, well,
close.
even if there is a companion charge, because I don't think county has a juvenile curfew charge,
Mhm.
they will still have a charge at municipal and then potentially one in the county system if there is
So
a
maybe
more
we can
serious
ask the
charge.
court, kind of when you're seeing these kids come through, what's the next step for them and their families?
And I think we can get that for
Yeah,
you.
of
I'm not
course.
sure what their sentencing pattern
I
is, or
would just
their
be curious,
diversion patterns.
yeah, I would be curious to know out of the 33, were they all unduplicated, or were there any duplicates? And you don't have to answer today, but, that's some,
Can you clarify what you mean?
so duplicated means this is the
Same
same
person?
person we've
Oh,
seen more
thank
than
you.
once. Unduplicated is one time only, yeah, because that tells a different story, obviously.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, all right, Counselor Bellis?
Just as one quick thing related to the proactive piece that may be of interest to everyone. because I know there's been those teen takeover issues at the Gathering Place, and I've been talking with them a bunch on that, and they actually did their own full audit of youth serving organizations, how to coordinate across them, when they're available, and they identified a pretty big gap that most that are serving, especially, right, there's not as many serving teens and adolescents, they're less cute, you know, than smaller kids, I get it. But also that the hours they operate, almost none operate when these issues are happening, right? And per your point about, but I know Vanessa and I talked about this before as well. Like, you know, when I grew up in Philly, the Y had like dance parties, and that's been done in the city before, but those create, you know, there's safety challenges there too. But I did want to name that it was like this very identified gap from this. I appreciate the Gathering Place doing this very thorough audit of organizations of their own accord, because they just were trying to help and assessing that basically almost no one operates nights and weekends who does like adolescent stuff, and so that's a real challenge. So I think there's an opportunity, and I'm glad Councilor Gilbert brought up, that could be something that if the like Office of Children, Youth and Families could like really address, could be really powerful, especially like directing, you know, those adolescents towards like having safe fun, career opportunities, all the good stuff. And then going back to the downtown piece, I know you mentioned that one or two that maybe had occurred at parking lots. I had definitely about a year ago, and then I started getting into this hard zoning regulatory place about where you could overlay certain policies. I was looking at parking lot safety policies for private lots. I just wanted to check back with you all. I know that's not just for youth, though obviously some of these are related to that, about if there were certain policies or things that you do think would be helpful. I had been looking at whether it was like required lighting or cameras in parking lots, or I just wanted to check both for these youth incidences and in general if there's certain things that you think would be beneficial for downtown safety like that.
I think there's definitely some
Okay.
policy. I know we talked about lighting, we talked
Yeah.
about security guards,
Yeah.
we talked about, you know, loitering
Yeah.
and those kind of things. And any of those approaches, again, just help the officers that are there.
Right.
It's less distractions, you know, noise that they
Yeah.
have to deal with, where they can focus on the real problems or the
Okay.
bigger problems or the more threatening problems.
Okay.
Yeah, I know we talked about it. I think
Yeah.
it's kind of just
Okay.
been treading water. We haven't done a whole lot on
Yeah.
it, but I think there's
Okay.
definitely some
I'll definitely
advantageous
yeah.
to having that.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely revisit it. I think I was kind of like, okay, we'll let the youth curfew piece play out. I knew we were forming the new, like, more downtown focused unit. And then I think something I have to revisit, saying this to my council colleagues, was if we were looking at parking lot regulations just in downtown, in other like being business districts, there's just things like that to think through for all of us. But yeah, and if there's any other things you think would be helpful, as Councilor Decorate mentioned as well, from that policy perspective, definitely happy to explore it.
One of the things that's helpful for us for parking lots, and we spend a lot of time in the spring contacting owners, and sometimes the managers of parking lots, they turn over. So we have to get updated trespass letters, so we can act without, if they don't have an attendant, and we can make those announcements. So we did a lot of that before the summer months to get, to identify all those parking lots that didn't have a letter on file, and we went and proactively got those. And so that's helped this summer quite a bit.
That's great.
That's
Good job. Thank you for doing that.
kind of following, since you just mentioned that, I'm curious, this will probably be a question for legal, sorry, Jack. But are we able to, I don't know if it's through a licensing thing or something for parking lot ownership, to be like, require a trespassing letter on file or anything like that? I guess that's like their own legal decision to do that. I'm just trying to think through with turnover, and then they don't have a letter, and then you need a new one, if there's a way to necessitate them engaging.
I think we can facilitate it, but I'm not sure we can require it. But, and we did look at some other cities we're doing several months ago, if you recall, and we had looked at Minneapolis's.
Yeah.
I believe it was a licensing scheme. So we can revisit some of that. but,
Okay.
yeah.
And then also to that, as well as Councilor Objector Wright's comment about going on throughout the city. So shift change for TPD occurs at the very end of August, and so there'll be an all operations bureau meeting between captains and above, and Captain Seibert will be able to explain to her colleagues what has really helped and worked in downtown, so that they can replicate that in different areas where they may be having struggles and issues with similar kind of things.
Situations, yeah. That's good. Thank you for doing that. It's good that you guys, I mean, in your own way, are being proactive on this, so thank you for doing that. All right, Counselor Archie and then Counselor Bengal.
Okay, I think most of my questions have been answered, but thank you all for coming, of course. So you all are suggesting that we have the Thursday, was I hearing that clearly, or wait?
Adding it.
Well, we'll look into it as she suggested and see if there's a need, but those are typically when bars, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Oh.
Oh.
And
I think if-
Saturday's the biggest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
draw
100%.
downtown.
I think if I remember though, when we launched in July last year, we did have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then as we moved into the fall and school was back in session,
Yeah.
that's when they said we could drop back.
Yeah.
So-
We didn't have Sunday, but we
Or
did have Thursday,
Thursday,
Friday,
right.
Saturday. And
Saturday.
you're right, we dropped
It was
Thursday. 'cause
around
it's
the
Yeah.
4th of July.
Yeah,
Sunday.
and then we dropped the Thursday after school started.
Right. So this data goes until the 20th. Like yesterday, I think about my daughter went to Benson Boone, and they said it was sold out, and so lots of people downtown. Were there challenges downtown with lots of young people yesterday, or like when we run these numbers again, did you all have a response yesterday where you had to manage large amounts of teens?
So I don't know about yesterday specifically, but one of the things that is important about this is there, in our just curfew ordinance citywide, there are exceptions to the curfew.
Right.
And one of the things we discussed when we were talking about implementing this downtown specifically was folks that want to go to the BOK or want to go to the coffee shop, and as long as you're going to or coming from, you know,
With an
legitimate
adult.
function,
Or with an
or,
adult.
right, it's the loitering, the hanging out, the, you know, tagging along to the group of
Right.
21-year-olds that are inside the bar that we're really trying to prevent.
And a couple of those, like one's at Fifth in Denver, one's at Eighth in Denver, I can imagine might have, they decide to linger way past. But what it also helps us do is for events at BOK or events in the Arts District or anywhere else, you're right, kids are now out and they're like, okay, what do I do? No, don't forget, you have the ordinance, please go. Oh, yeah, you're right. And again, most kids aren't trying to violate the law, they just need some,
Reminders.
A little bit
some
of
move along.
urging.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very good.
yeah.
Great.
But did you see any issues last night after that concert? I mean, even though it's not, last
No,
night
not
was a
that I'm
Tuesday
aware
night,
of.
so it's not part of the curfew.
Not that I'm aware of.
Great.
Good,
Yeah.
okay. Counselor Bengal.
Yeah, from a public safety perspective, as a former law enforcement officer, I'm encouraged by these numbers, to be honest with you. I don't know if there's comparative data about the 33 that were cited versus the number of engagements, right? So that's a comparative that I think may give some context to that. To me, in an 8-month period, 33 is not a high number. But, because that tells me when we originally started considering this ordinance, the number hundreds was used, right? So comparatively, 33 does not match hundreds that were coming down here. These are 33 individuals that are now alive, that may have, you know, a minor offense that they have to go to court for, but they weren't killed, they weren't involved in something serious that could have taken their lives, which could have been more catastrophic for them and their families. I do agree with Counselor Dector Wright that we have some sort of comparative outside the IDL that we're actually enforcing this and not just focused specifically on this one corridor. So it gives some context that we're even-handedly applying application of law. To Counselor Bellis's point, this is something we've talked about previously, and I hate saying this, but Bell's was one of those things, one of those outlets that kids had previously that now doesn't exist.
Speaking to me, Counselor.
I know it, and I've said this 100 times, but I don't know what that replacement looks like, right? But there has to be something of that level. And as Counselor Dr. Wright was talking about, you know, these other, you know, avenues, like some sort of sanctioned activities, those are a little harder to get, you know, churches will do those things and some civic organizations will do these things. But I feel like there's something that has to match that level. Because I remember, you know, going out there, working at the county, and it would just be full of kids. I mean, just full. And it was a place for them to socialize and do these types of things. There were games, they had things to do and keep themselves engaged. And I feel like, again, it's not an advertisement for bells specifically, but it is that type of environment. And I did ask the question, is there anybody that does that type of development anymore? And I started looking online to do a little research, and it's a challenge. You would have to get somebody to come in here and do a select, go through the whole entire process, and it's a challenge. So I hope at some point, as, you know, when we start going through capital improvement packages, we'll start trying to figure out how we create something to that scale to where our kids can go and they can be safe and, you know, be screened as they come in to make sure they don't have guns or things of that nature. But from my perspective, that's an encouraging number, especially when we've had hundreds used when we were considering this ordinance. Like I said, I would want to see a comparative of engagement versus sight.
So comparative engagement would be difficult because we don't document that.
Exactly.
Most of it is an educational piece, it's just an
But
encounter.
it does give some context to how many youth am I engaging? This is how many I'm citing, because you could get into the weeds on the anecdotal aspects of each one of those individual citations, right? So
And-
I'm assuming there's some encouragement, as Chief Wilmershauser implicated, is that you're encouraging them to, hey, you're in violation of curfew, move along, before it gets to that point of citing. So,
Or even having an identification, right?
Right.
We could say it to a 19-year-old.
Exactly.
But we're not checking for ID to determine whether or not they're of age. We're just giving them notification and they're moving on.
Yep.
So, but we can definitely bring a comparative analysis to outside the IDL
Yep.
Yes.
next time we come.
and so that way it doesn't feel targeted.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
You
it.
done?
Yep.
All right, I have Counselor Dutton and then Archie again.
So thank you to my colleagues, and thank you Chief Wilmerhauser and Seabird and Laurel. I know that when we initially brought this forward, that we had requested monthly updates, I believe. And so, huh?
Quarterly.
Quarterly? My bad. Boy, I'm just
Well,
not
I'm the
with it today.
I'm the quarterly report lady.
I apologize.
Karen Quarterly Report?
Yes.
That is her literal middle name.
I appreciate that, I know, that's right. So I appreciate that. It's been a long day already. Is that sufficient? The way
It's
that-
sufficient for us, if this,
Okay.
as long as that is satisfying what you guys are trying to, monitor in this. But, yeah, I think it's great for us to have the opportunity to do it and talked about its success and anything that we may, suggestions we may have to alter it or expand it.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, and I
Appreciate
appreciate
it.
that. I appreciate the data and the information, and if there's anything that you need from us
Thank you.
to amplify programming and whatnot, even with the Department of Children, Youth, and Families, I think that we need to hear it, so that we'll know what avenues to help you out as well.
Thank you. Okay, Counselor Archie?
You all said earlier that gun violence in the IDL was down year over year, or in the whole city year over year? What y'all saying about that?
I think the gun violence this summer
Right.
is down from the gun violence that we saw inside the IDL last summer.
Okay, so do you have like if you can send the data on, I'd love to share that in some town hall or something. Just, we'll talk about year over year violence, that'd be a good little number to have.
Sure.
Thanks.
And you want it just inside the IDL, right?
Well, I'd love it in West Tulsa, in my
why I
area,
asked.
but our conversation, I don't want to make Jack angry. Our conversation's about the downtown.
We can talk offline as to what
yeah.
you need. We can
Sure.
always get you information and statistics or data that you need that aren't on the agenda, Counselor Archie.
Yeah, stay on the agenda.
We'll talk on
All
record,
right,
Counselor Archie.
any other questions on item number 2?
Nope.
Okay.
Thank you.
Moving on, thank you guys.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for your, for all the work that you're doing. Appreciate it.
Click it now.
All right, item number 3, discussion with the Public Safety Commissioner or her designee regarding protocols for siren deployment during emergency situations. Yeah, so I put this on because we just went through, I know that we have had a lot of rain lately. But on the 4th of July, we had a tremendous amount of rain, to the point where there was lots of street flooding. And there was the meteorologists were putting the warnings out that it was coming, but we weren't getting any notification from our new emergency management division. So we also saw lots of cars being stalled in the streets. For me, in my district, I even had, unfortunately, a gentleman that was stranded in a wheelchair, and a firefighter had to push him home because his motorized wheelchair stopped. So, because he was going through high water. So I just want to know the protocols of when do we all heard previously when the sirens go off for tornadoes, but now we're seeing we did see flooding and didn't hear anything. I know the meteorologists were also asking and concerned about no sirens, so that's why I just wanted to get a better understanding of when those sirens are deployed.
Sure, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. Oops, this button right here. So, just real quickly, our objective today is we're gonna talk about an overview of the flood sirens, like you said, Councilor Gilbert, discuss their strategic use and how we're keeping Tulsa safe, right? So we'll do an overview. We have a great history in here of kind of how we've worked through flooding in Tulsa, and then how we best inform the public. So we have our emergency sirens sound for 3 different life safety threat scenarios. The one that most Oklahomans are familiar with are that 3-minute steady tone that's is an impending tornado. And we've talked at this table, and we've had Steve Pills from the National Weather Service at this table, but that is when atmospheric conditions show that there's a tornado that's imminent, or that there's a tornado on the ground, and a tornado warning, we call it a polygon, has been dropped on a certain area, one of the 4 quadrants within the city of Tulsa, those sirens will sound. The second one is a 3-minute wavering tone, which is an impending nuclear attack, which we hope we never hear. And then the third is the high-low.
I did hear one time.
That was we're
was-
a vendor issue that we're still trying to figure out with them. The 3-minute high-low tone is the impending flooding siren. Our comms team, the City of Tulsa Communications team, did put out a video a couple weeks ago. It's another opportunity to talk about when the flood sirens go off, and we have on our website what all of these 3 sounds, when they go off, and actually what they sound like. So cityoftulsa.org has more information if you want to actually hear those sounds or read some more, so.
Oh, I thought you were.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna
for
say,
us.
did you bring them to?
I did not embed them in here so that we can hear all of them.
No, I was talking about you making sounds.
No.
Oh, well, I wasn't saying that.
I did an impression.
City of Tulsa has 108 sirens throughout the city. This is in our city limits. So those are strategically placed to be outdoor warning systems, so that if you're outside, then you hear them and you know that there's impending threat that's coming. The warning system is designated to instantly alert people who are outdoors. I addressed that. That's an outdoor warning system and then the high-low tone, again, we talk about is for the flood sirens. It lasts for 3 minutes. There is a 1-minute pause. It will sound again for 3 minutes, so it's a 7-minute interval. And then there's a reassessment. This is with all sirens or all alerts. There is a reassessment if it's a need to sound again. So if you'll hear it, you'll hear a pause, and you'll hear it again if there's still a continuing threat. So the flooding sirens are designed for when there is life, safety, risk, and there's a rapidly developing threat to our community. In 2019, I think most of us were here, most of us heard those sirens. That was a policy decision to sound those sirens. There were evacuations taking place in West Tulsa, and there was a potential for the levee to breach. And so the decision was to sound those, though we did not get to catastrophic life safety threat during that flood. That was the decision behind the 2019 sounding of those sirens. So one thing I will talk about is precaution with flood sirens. Here in Oklahoma, most high water, street flooding, because it's raining harder than our infrastructure can drain it, is also embedded with thunderstorms. So a flood siren tells you to seek higher ground, and a tornado siren tells you to go to a low confined space. Or somewhere with no windows, seek the lowest shelter you can. So they are opposite directions to individual safety. If that makes sense to everybody? And so, I know July 4th was one of these incidents where storm blew through, we had the fireworks come faster. That storm had a significant wind gust on the front end and significant water that fell. The wind gusts are the primary threat to life safety, and so had we sounded flood sirens to alert people that there's potential street flooding in these flood-prone areas, most people that are going to hear that are going to think that is a tornado siren. In Oklahoma, we are accustomed to those being tornado sirens, and at that point, we're locked in a box for flood sirens, and if those wind gusts had gotten to a point where the atmosphere had changed, that there was tornadic development with the storm, it would have caused a lot of confusion of,
Can I ask a clarifying question to that?
Sure.
Just as a quick clarifier, sorry, because I totally hear you and I know it can cause public confusion. And I know with the Father's Day storm, we didn't know, that was very sudden. But for this 4th of July event.
We had sirens then on the bottom.
Yeah, that's right, there were, you're right. What I'm trying to figure out too with the wind gusts is, because we had all these people out, including on the pedestrian bridge for that 4th of July event, and they had to be rapidly evacuated. People are running with their babies, because that storm I know descended quickly, and I know that there was a forecast. How does that work? Or are you saying that there's not, because that was just strong wind at that time leading up to flooding, there was no good way to, or I just wasn't sure how we were monitoring to go, this event should be shut down.
It's very confusing.
Yeah, what are our options for warning people in that situation, or deciding about permitted events paired with, because I know I understand this is the sirens, but there were just a few layers of warnings that I don't understand. Do we not have a mechanism to warn people in that situation? It's only once there's actual flash flooding, or if the wind's not meeting a tornado level, then we don't have anything, even if it's 100+ mile per hour wind gust, or.
Well, 100 mile an hour plus wind gust
Yeah.
is a trip for the sirens to go off.
Okay.
So there are wind gust thresholds.
Okay.
So on the 4th of July, it was probably 3:30 in the afternoon. We're watching this build out to the west and up to the north. The National Weather Service is the one who does all the weather predictions, puts together the weather maps, the forecast. That is not a role of emergency management.
Right.
Role of emergency management is to take those threats and then push them out. So on the 4th of July, we didn't have wind gusts, we had no tornadoes, but there were tornado warnings associated with the entire storm, not in the city of Tulsa. So we knew that it did have the.
Surrounding areas, though. Yeah.
I don't remember exactly where that
Yeah.
storm had tornado warnings, right? But there was a significant wind gust, there was, cooler air. I know that there was a lot of discussion about Freedom Fest. You talk about information, right?
Yeah.
That is an event put on by River Parks. There was communication between special events, our emergency management, and River Parks. And so the decision was made to shoot the fireworks off at 7:30 rather than 9:30, and that message was communicated out through River Parks. I believe the city of Tulsa also put out communications that there was going to be changes on it, right? And so that was a decision that was made by River Parks, who was hosting that event. And they did the primary communication to folks.
Okay. But then that still led to like, I'm just thinking through, you still ended up with people caught, like whether it was like caught in flooding or just like literally caught, like it just like, all those people had to run off the pedestrian bridge. Is it, so it's like potentially that might be an upstream National Weather Service forecasting issue? Or I'm just trying to understand at what point there would have been sirens or what kind of advance notice people would have had to actually evacuate, because they were evacuating as it was happening, basically.
Well, we basically, I mean,
That's what I don't understand.
we had meteorologists reporting flash flooding, and so if there's flash flooding, do we not sound the flood sirens?
No.
And to let people, warn people that there could be flash flooding and turn around, don't drown?
No, not for street flooding because of a short, heavy rainfall. We do not. It is for catastrophic levee breach, dam breach. There is a wall of water coming. If I can work through some of these slides, I think it might be a little bit clearer as to kind of what that threshold is. We talk about the thresholds with tornadoes. It's very easy to say, it's 70-mile-an-hour wind, it's going to trip. There's a polygon, it's going to trip. Street flooding is not a time that we alert sirens.
Okay. I mean, the people that I were listening to, they were saying this, I mean, get through it and then we'll finish.
Thank you.
So, yeah, sure.
So this is on our website, and this does change, and it is updated based on like infill development and whatnot, but these are common flood-prone places. I was actually driving home from the EOC one night in March, I think it was, and I was at Harvard in the Broken Arrow Expressway. Harvard goes under the Broken Arrow there. It's prone for flooding. We had a lot of heavy flooding, and it just backs up because the stormwater, even though we have one of the best stormwater systems in the nation, sometimes just can't hold all the water. As soon as the rain starts to dissipate, that water drains off. So this is a map that we keep that is updated based on what our, where those flood prone areas are. So a little history in Tulsa, for those of you that were here in 1984, we had this significant flood. And I really appreciate Monica, who helped with this PowerPoint slide. She went and pulled these historicals off of here. But these were just pictures that depicted what that flooding was. And this was before we did a lot of infrastructure work with the levee and the dam. And so the rainfall did not, it accumulated and it built up more than it does today because of the investments that we've made. The 1984 Memorial Day flood, you can see there how much rain actually fell, that we actually have fatalities, there were buildings that were damaged because water got inside of them, how many vehicles were damaged because of water, road and bridge damage, and about $180 million estimate.
My house flooded.
1986, almost the same thing, 2 years later. You can see that low water dam and look at the giant log or piece of tree that's up there. So, and an aerial footage of where the water actually like seeped, into the residential neighborhoods and the effects that it had.
That's a truck.
That was a truck that
Yep.
followed.
Oh, is that it?
Not a log.
Oh, it is a truck.
It's like
I
a
was thinking about
trailer-
that barge.
trailer of a truck.
Yeah.
Significantly more rain, 10 to 20 inches. And then again, the damage there is almost twice as much, $350 million in 1986 dollars. So, and that was, you see 300,000 people evacuated from 25 towns. That had significant downstream effects and affected, towns along the Arkansas River. 2019, this is what our river looked like then. And for those of you that remember or being in the EOC, the waters were very high and it got very close to some of Riverside.
I think that's Tom's picture right there.
I'll leave it up for a minute.
Copyright.
But we have the volleyball courts at 71st and Riverside there, just south of 71st and Riverside, that did take on water, but none of our roadways took on water, no houses took on water. We did have some water in the Cherokee Casino, the Osage Casino, but because of the investments in, environmental design
Well, that's
and
a
the core.
gathering place.
in the middle.
Oh, is that the
That's
gathering?
place, yeah.
Oh, okay. I just
Yeah.
saw volleyball
Those are
courts.
basketball courts.
Yeah, no, but the trail was washed out around the casino,
Yes.
which is right by those
Yeah.
volleyball courts, yeah,
Yep, that's where it gets real close to the river.
right, yeah.
And so here's the, statistics on that. We had 6 to 16 inches of rain over about a 2-week period. We did have some road and bridge damage and a few structures damaged, but again, significantly less rain, but investments in that. So large-scale flooding, we talk about flood sirens. Most cities don't use a dedicated flood siren during major flood events. I'm going to tell you that all 3 of these pictures are Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. When we talk about catastrophic life safety issues, significant property issues, our 1984, our 1986 floods would have probably qualified for that. And again, this was New Orleans taking on water at a very rapid pace. And this is a situation where we would use our sirens. Again, our sirens are one form of notification. They should not be our only source of notification. Everybody's got a cell phone, their phones will go off, you can get weather alerts, you can watch maps, but there's wireless emergency alerts, we've got weather radios, and again, emergency notification systems. So the sirens are one tool. They are not the only tool, and they're not the things that we should completely depend on for notification.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yep.
Now? With that flash flooding, did we do any wireless emergency alerts out to the public?
I think there was the flash flood warning that was issued by the National Weather Service, which would have been pushed out. We don't push these out. These are pushed out to National Weather Service through other sources.
Okay. Is that it? Do you have more? You have more pictures?
No. That's all I got. And I will introduce, I'm not going to ask him to come to the table, but we do have our new emergency manager for the city here. Adam Woodard is sitting on the back row.
I'll invite him to the table.
Of course you will.
Come on.
Adam actually starts as emergency manager on August 23rd. He is still currently working for the Tulsa Police Department, so he will make that transition and come over as our emergency manager late August.
I was gonna ask, why do you have a gun? But,
Does that answer your question?
There you go.
He is.
All right, well, good to see you again, sir.
Yes, Counselor.
Counselor Dr. Wright, do you have a?
Oh, you already asked my questions
Oh, I did?
when
Okay.
you stopped the slideshow. We're good.
Okay, all right. Anybody else have any questions, concerns? Yes, Counselor Bangle?
What type of, okay, so we have tornado sirens,
Yes.
we have rain gauges, we have pressure transducers, right, which monitor the flow of our stormwater. You have access to all that, right? To understand, the flow of water and, because I'll tell you, I have a stormwater creek behind me, and that petrifies me, the amount of water that is flowing. And I mean, it is quick, it is high, and it is fast. So, when that's going right behind your house, I can't imagine, if you're in the street or when something pops up on you, obviously the pictures don't do justice the experience. How are we using these tools to monitor that? Or those feed into the overall national weather system? Is that our intent? Or how we make the investment of monitoring the weather, but how are we leveraging those tools? In this capacity?
Do you have a better answer for that?
So,
Because I know
The
that,
last bout of rain that we had
Right.
come through, we had a series of rainy days. That is something we do monitor. We have monitoring systems in like Bird Creek, okay, Polecat Creek, things like that. Those do get watched pretty closely, so we have very predictive analysis that, hey, we think this may breach its banks at this level, it's currently at this level, it's updated pretty continuously. That is something we watch. But again, those are things that, they take time.
Right.
It's not a matter of, 60 seconds when that happens. We know, we're watching at the rate it raises and things like that, monitor it. Especially in some of your outlying areas, that's when they start barricading and saying, hey, obviously don't drive into this water that you see.
Right, and I think the challenge for me is when our watersheds get overburdened, and we don't know that's occurring, right? So that's always the thing for me, when you see all this rain runoff, and there's this, like I said, it's a little different when you're watching it. You have no water to all of a sudden it's like 5 feet of water rushing behind your house and all the objects that are in there. How do we know, are we monitoring the watersheds and, whether they're becoming overburdened? Because I think to the point that you're making about flash flooding, right? How would we know as citizens that we're getting ready to get close to that point? To where our watersheds are overburdened?
Yeah, so again, that's constant monitoring. When we get a lot of rain over periods of days, there's constant monitoring, right, to see the crests. It hasn't rained, it's been extremely hot for the last couple of weeks. If we were to get a significant rainfall storm today, streets could still flood.
Right.
Because the water's not, it doesn't have anywhere, it's draining into our stormwater and it's just not draining fast enough. So yes, these Bird Creek, a lot of these.
Spunky.
Yeah, these ditches, you see it coming down from, the Verdigris River, we watch those, we watch the Arkansas River, and monitor those, but it's the very quick rainfall, street flooding, there is no gauge to that. There's more rain that can drain off. When the rain dissipates,
Yeah.
the flooding recedes.
So with that, I know that communications put stuff out after July 4th, but are we doing any other educational communication to the public about turn around, don't drown?
I think there's
I
constant
mean, during these flash floods?
like at the
or-
time of the incident.
No, I mean,
Or-
just ongoing, so that they know when we do have these downpours, these torrential downpours, that they know what to do. I mean, it's simple education, but just continuing, having that communication with the public to, again, let them know where the pocket areas are that might have these flooding issues, like 43rd and Sheridan.
Well, I know communications on a regular cadence pushes it out based on what the weather cycle's gonna be. Every spring we put out, spring weather warnings, here's what to expect, here's the things.
But we just don't get those rains in the springtime. I mean, we had a tornado in August a few years ago, so.
Had tornadoes in October, but yes, I mean, there are regular cadence of information being pushed out, and the turnaround, don't drown being reemphasized. So, yes, there is an education piece that goes with it as well. But we're not doing it with every single storm that
No, but I mean,
potentially could come
like,
in.
every other month, we should push out simple communication, because you never know what the weather's gonna be like in Oklahoma.
And
So,
that's gonna be a question for the communications team. I mean, there's conversation obviously between us, but the communications team, yes, they push out things on a regular basis. Like I said, we've updated the sirens. We put something out on the website a couple weeks ago on the sirens. All the sirens are on there. There's always reminders.
maybe we can do something with that, communications.
Well, wait, can I clarify, when you say communications, do you mean
City of
just
Tulsa.
city, okay, so you guys don't have a PIO as part of
No.
emergency management?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
I have one more question.
I think Michelle serves as
Yeah.
the PIO
Or
in
Yes,
the
yes,
joint
in the-
information center.
Yes,
Okay.
when
So
we
you're-
stand up.
you're not done yet?
Yeah, I have one more question.
Then finish,
No,
so
I
that
have
we can
one
get
more
on with
question.
others.
Look, I have one more
Finish.
question. Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
How old are our tornado sirens? Do you know?
How old are they?
Yeah.
Oh,
They vary. They
Okay.
vary in age. Our oldest tornado sirens are of the rotating nature, and so we're gentle with those. when we do our testing and things like that. We have parameters on when we do and when we don't test for that reason, temperature being a factor. And we constantly monitor their maintenance. We have technicians that look at them. We get status reports multiple times a day right now. Because we're
So you're
really
saying the
watching.
ones I worked on in the 90s are still in
It's
service?
possible, it's possible. They do
It's
replace them
insane.
as the end of life
You
occurs.
put your initials on them?
And,
Oh,
but I can tell you right
There's
now,
100 speakers in that thing.
Did you put a
I
pump on
archive
it?
their status tests
Okay.
continuously throughout. I mean, it's multiple times a day I'm getting them and archiving them and looking at them. And they do an assessment on what needs to happen and which ones need to be replaced.
So do we have a plan for end-of-life replacement?
Yeah, they're
Okay.
not gonna remove a siren from an area because it has to do with coverage. They wanna
Right.
make sure those are there for strategic reasons, so.
No, but I'm
if
talking
there's-
about replacement of
Yes,
equipment.
yes.
Right. There is a planned end-of-life for that.
Yeah, we're not gonna
specific
just wait till it goes.
Yeah,
Now,
exactly.
what do we do? Yeah.
I think Counselor Q got the newest siren in West Tulsa, so.
I love that for us.
Counselor, are you done?
I am now.
Counselor, are you done?
I'm afraid to ask another question.
Counselor Dutton.
I just want to say it's so good to see you. I didn't realize that was you sitting in the back.
Thank you,
My
Governor.
goodness, this guy is one of my favorites. What I would like to know is, even though we're following protocol with the weather service, is it not possible for us to actually do our own within the city of Tulsa communications, despite the fact that we're going with the National Weather Service and the protocols in place for alarming the sirens and whatnot? Can we not just get information through our communications department that, you know, there's a propensity for flooding, or a map even that we can put online that shows the flooding areas within the city of Tulsa? Come on up.
Hey,
Hi.
I was watching.
I know. I
There's
saw
a
you
bat
walk
signal.
in, and that wasn't by accident, so.
Here's
I'm
where
not gonna make my
Bergen-
2 o'clock. I'm not gonna make my 2 o'clock.
We do have 2 websites, web pages available regarding flash flooding. cityoftulsa.org/FFS. Those were just recently updated by our engineer about 3-4 months ago, because those have updated as of late. And then we have cityoftulsa.org/sirens, and that has all of the information about our siren systems, the tones, the triggers for the sirens. And then back to kind of the 4th of July event, which I think was kind of maybe the questioning. So in the past, typically what happens is our emergency management department is monitoring in the EOC. They will make the call to basically call in their support systems. That includes PIO. So for this particular storm, PIO was not called in because it was a special event that they were coordinating directly with TPD and River Parks. And so we did put out 3 or 4 different notices prior to the wind event. Plus turn around, don't drown. Our fire department does that constantly. We have CRS rating that we are required to do as well. We had a flood expo in May regarding kind of these issues. So some of that stuff's already occurring and it happens year round.
So what can we do as a council to help promote with the city as a whole to inform our constituents and our people?
I like that. So I think what we can do, we can bring together a plan, work with your communications team, and see what would be most helpful for you and how we can help get the word out further. I think one of the things, we have September is National Preparedness Month. We have a lot of things around that month. Now with Mr. Adam joining us, some different things that we planned on doing in September. Also putting things out in our utility bill stuffer. We have things in there constantly as well, but I think there's a lot of things that we can do that maybe we can talk about with Megan and team and Sarah.
Okay.
Perfect. All right, Counselor Bellis, then Dr. Wright and Archie.
Oh, I think I'm good. I got it answered.
Okay. Counselor Dr. Wright.
Thank you. On that blue map where we show flood-prone areas, sorry.
You're fine.
So at Garnett, south of 91st Street, it is a county road, but it does border it's in my district, and it's a low water place. There's a dog park over there, there's an overpass, south of St. Francis, you know, and they're doing a county road project that should mitigate flooding, but right now, because there's all that construction in that area, if it floods, there's already streets blocked off to those nearby neighborhoods. So nearby neighbors are very concerned when there's flooding there, that's even one less route that they could take, or that emergency responders could take to get to them. So I don't know if we could reflect that on there, or how you all determine where those flood-prone zones are. But south of East 91st Street on South Garnett Road is definitely an area that now has apartment complexes and single-family residents with major construction and roads blocked for probably the next year. So it would just be a place to be focused in on.
Add that to our list as well.
Yeah, I mean, that came up during the July 4th event for those folks. And it's a little challenging because it is a county road and there's this push and pull on it, but we as a city have shut off some of the street to through traffic to help the county, and so we're in that conversation, basically 101st to 91st on South Garnett. For one of these big I think whenever like 41st in your district floods, that part also floods, because it's just kind of one of those things. If it's rained enough to flood over there, it's rained enough to flood over there. And your district too, Bird Creek for sure. Okay, I think the commissioner's passed time on her
We have
next
one more
meeting.
question now, Counselor Archie.
No, I think I'm good. I
Okay.
think you coming down, and you will just be integrated into the communications efforts.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, great.
Yes, we're always talking.
Great.
So.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Recyclable. There's the